This is Will Sinclair. I'm in a parking lot outside a grocery store in midwinter. I want to talk to you today about a girl, a wheelchair, and forgiveness. This is episode 38.
Welcome to the show.
Well, so glad to have you here today. This will be a little bit noisier podcast in the sense of I'm not in the studio right now. I am in this parking lot outside a big Canadian superstore in Regina, Saskatchewan in midwinter, watching everybody pushing their carts through heavy drifts of snow. And this is where I'm going to be podcasting from today live. So I'm sitting here and you're probably going to hear a little bit more noise, trucks moving back and forth and things like that. I'm actually using my earbuds as my microphone and I'm podcasting on my iPad right now. Not my iPad, my iPhone. My iPhone 6S I just got recently. Anyway, we live from Regina, Saskatchewan. This is the province of Saskatchewan, for those of you not familiar with Canada. And Regina is a smaller city. I think it's about 200,000 or somewhere around there, 240. Maybe I'm wrong completely. But anyway, we were going to travel to Saskatoon, which is another city. And the whole trip would normally take about 5 hours. But yesterday we got like 6 inches of snow. This is the end of November. We got like 6 or at least 4 inches of snow in about 3-4 hours. And instead of thinking of canceling the trip, I was heading there to Saskatoon for a surgeon's appointment, like a follow-up from my cancer surgery in 2015, so a year and a half ago. This is the end of November. And it was just storming like crazy. And we drove all the way to Regina yesterday, so we got here last night. And so anyway, the thing is we stayed at my son and daughter-in-law's, and we got up in the morning to travel the rest of the trip to Saskatoon, which is 2.5 hours away from Regina to Saskatoon. And we got on the highway and we were down to like 70 kilometers an hour. That's probably, I don't know how many miles an hour that is, 35 miles an hour. But anyway, we were traveling on the highway and there was really slippery sections, and we're like, this 2.5 hour trip is going to take like 4 hours to get there. And essentially the follow-up meeting will take about 15 minutes with the doctor. And so we decided, it's not worth the trip, and so we called and postponed. And we called and postponed the trip, and then we turned around. We're only about 15 minutes into our journey, and we turned around and came back to Regina. And I don't believe in, and neither does my wife, in coincidences. We sometimes, because we are believers in the divine, we call them God incidences. And so there must be a reason why, for some purpose, neither of us yesterday said, as I was looking out at the snow, it wasn't worth traveling all that distance and risking our lives and the amount of extra money we'd spend on fuel, because we had to take our 4x4, our old 4x4 vehicle, and it took, instead of 2 hours to Regina, it took almost 2 hours 40 minutes, driving so slow in the ice and the snow and blowing snow and falling snow, and it was just a blizzard conditions, and neither of us thought to cancel that trip. Isn't that weird? But we don't believe in coincidences, and so we knew we were in Regina for a purpose. And so after we turned around, we thought, well, let's go get our groceries and whatnot. And so we came to a big superstore in Regina, Saskatchewan, And I went in with full intentions of grocery shopping with my wife, and we like to do it together a lot of times. But I just wanted to go get some notebooks because I journal, and I needed a new journal. And so anyway, I went to go get notebooks while she went off to get some other groceries. And I went through the book section of this big superstore, and I came across this book, and I keep saying "and" a lot, but because I'm sitting in this vehicle and I've actually got the heat turned off, and it's pretty cold outside, so I'm kind of like a little cold. And I came across this book, and it's a blue cover with a girl from Syria, and it's called Najin, and I think it's called Najin or Najin, and it's Nujeen, and it's one girl's incredible journey from war-torn Syria in a wheelchair. And so something about this book was calling me, and you can probably hear me like flip through the pages here. And I was reading it, and she was talking about, I was reading it in the store, and she was talking about how her father had arranged for their boat trip, and I think she landed in the UK, but it's a whole story, it's her story. And she said she met a family that had spent $2,700 after their whole home was demolished from bombing, and they had fled with nothing, and she was pregnant and ended up having her baby along the way, and ended up at this point where they'd given this smuggler $2,700 to smuggle them. He was a people smuggler, to smuggle them across to Canada, the UK, or wherever it was they were going to go, and to get them away from this war. And he had taken off with their money, and so they were left begging on the street with this baby. And she couldn't believe that somebody could be that wicked, that she couldn't believe that people are born evil, right? But that somebody could do that to another person, and how people smugglers were sending people on boats and taking their money, knowing that the boat was deficient and the boat would never make it there, and inevitably send them to their death. And she couldn't believe that another human being would take another human being and send them to their death, take money from another human and send them to their death. And she said when Saddam Hussein was executed for crimes against humanity, when he was executed, she felt really sad, despite all the things that she knew that he had done to the Kurds and everybody else, that she felt sad that his life had ended. And she felt a little dismayed because she knew all the things and the atrocities that he had done, that she felt sad about it. And her sister told her, says, but there's nothing wrong with feeling sad about someone losing their life, because she says, we wanted justice, not revenge. And it just seemed to hit home with me. And I bought the book. It was like $24 Canadian, but I bought the book anyway. And I plan on reading it, and I'm hoping I might give you a report on it. I'm a slow reader, I'll tell you that. I'm a slow reader. I prefer audiobooks, which is why I'm drawn to podcasting. That's probably why you're drawn to listening to audio and podcasts, and rather than reading about it in a magazine or a book. But anyway, I'd love to read through that, and even if that's all I get from it, I feel like I was called to Regina to see that book, and to remind ourselves and to remind me that we're more than just ourselves. We're more than just being individuals. We're more than it's just us, just me. That we're part of a global world, a corporate entity, and our world is part of a universe. It's more than just us. The world does not center around us. The sun doesn't evolve around us. We evolve around the sun. And I know that was a big thing with religion before, and with the Catholic Church, where we believed a long time ago that everything evolved around us. But it's not. We're a part of a greater thing. We are part of a global world filled with other people whom we need to pay attention to. I want to talk to you a little bit about forgiveness. And I know in our journey there's things that people have done to us, right? I'm sure this Najine could talk about all the things that were done to her. And yet when I just flicked through the book and I looked about how they would watch TV, and she really liked watching MasterChef Canada or whatever it was called, because it was just fun for her to watch the real one, and then all the power would go out because that's what it was like when places were getting bombed and you're in a war-torn area. I'm sure she had lots of reasons to blame other people. But I'm going to read through the book, but I'll bet you anything that she finds encouragement and she finds awareness and she moves ahead. But I'll let you know. But anyway, we do find a lot of hurts coming up in our lives. People have abused us. People have done things to us. It could be that we're holding hurts from sexual abuse. We're holding hurts from whoever it was, or from we're bullied a lot at school, or even the teller at the grocery store ticked us off. You know, I'm sitting in this parking lot right now, just so you're aware. You'll probably hear other things, and probably my voice isn't sounding the greatest speaking through these earbuds. So you will hear other traffic noise and stuff like that. My wife's inside. She goes, no, go sit in the vehicle and do a podcast. So I'm here and a little chilly. But we do go through life and on our journey to become a better us, to become a better person, to become more of who we are, right? Richard Rohr says, you become who you already are. We already have this immortal diamond inside of us, and we need to mine our life to get down to it. We've covered it up. We were born with it. We were born with this beauty, this divine, our divine inside of us. Some people call it God. Some people are limited by that description of what God is. But on this journey, these hurts come up. And sometimes the person that hurt us isn't even alive, you know, and they can't come and apologize to you for what they did if they were still apologetic. They can't. And what we need to do is we need to go through a process of forgiveness, of forgiving. And we need to realize that forgiveness is not an emotion. It is not an emotion. Forgiveness is a decision to love. Whether it's the teller at the bank or the teller at the grocery store, and I'm just bringing up teller because we're in a grocery store, that looked at you the wrong way, or you perceived them to look at you the wrong way. You know? Or somebody who cut you off in traffic. All those things are just signs that bring up anger, that tick you off. This happens to me all the time. All these things are triggers. They're all triggers to bring up deeper things in us that need to be healed through love. Right? So if somebody cuts you off in traffic and you go, oh my gosh, or like me today, there was so much snow, like we were heading out, and I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but traffic was going from to Saskatoon was down to 70 kilometers an hour. And so the weather was really bad. And I was noticing people who were driving, and if you come from a place with a lot of snow in winter, they haven't even brushed their vehicle off properly. They just enough to get in the door. They haven't brushed off their headlights or anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm making all these judgment calls, and it's almost like it's ticking me off. But all these things are triggers. They're triggers to show you how unsettled things are in your life. That you're possibly still living on the surface of your life and not in the depths of your life, where the peace and the calm is, just like the depths of an ocean. The squalls on the surface, the hurricanes on the surface, the waves are 300 feet or maybe they're peaceful on the surface. But down below is calmness and strength. And we need to live in that depth of our being. But to get to that depth, we need to go through all our hurts. We need to go through all those things that are ticking us off. All those things that are hurting us. Those the past hurts from abuse, whether it's your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your uncle, your teacher at school. Maybe somebody did something to you in your childhood. Maybe you don't even realize somebody did something to you in your childhood. Maybe you don't realize you were never hugged by your parents or told you were loved. And I apologize on behalf of them for that. But we need to begin the process of saying, I forgive you. I forgive you for what happened. And when people tick you off, when situations happen in your life right now, they're triggers to bring up that emotion. The emotion is buried deep, deep down, that you only discover and heal when you allow it to come up to the surface and be healed. When you become aware of what's happening in your life, what's causing you hurts. You need to take the time to sit in stillness. It is the stillness that brings you into the awareness and into the healing. The stillness, the quietness of your heart, the quietness of your soul as it connects with your divine. The quietness is the divine within you, the light within you, God within you, the universal energy, the grace within you connects with the God, the divine, the universe, with creation all around you. And it's in that connection that the healing takes place. So remember that forgiveness is not an emotion. When you do not forgive, when you don't take that time to say, you might be dead, or you might be away from whatever the situation or the person is, usually people, that hurt you. You can still start that process with the decision to forgive. When you make that decision, healing will begin. Healing will begin. You don't have to feel sorrow. You don't have to feel the wanting to forgive. You might be full of anger. You might be like, there's no way on this earth I am ever going to forgive that person for what they did to me. But you need to, or you're going to get locked up in your life in this whole thing, and you'll be stuck in it forever. So allow that process to happen. Okay, so thank you so much for listening in. My name is Will Sinclair, and I can see my wife coming with the groceries, so I gotta go. So remember, go to therealtruthaboutyou.com and get more of these downloads. And I'm so happy that you're here with me today. Remember, I love you lots. And remember, you absolutely, without a doubt, rock.